Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery. Today, we're chatting with Randi Halaway, a dynamic coach who turned a childhood of constant change, 11 schools before high school, into a foundation of resilience and adaptability. Now based in sunny San Diego, Randi runs an online coaching business that she absolutely loves, helping others to create meaningful transformations. And of course, transformations are all about being badass. So let's jump in. Welcome to the show, Randi.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
So one of the things I often open my show with is inviting my guests to like, hey, what's so badass about you? So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I am willing to do the thing, even if it's scary, even if it's uncomfortable. And that's what has really sort of led a path for me of some uncomfort for sure, but also a lot of expansion, a lot of magic and beautiful, beautiful things.
So here's my question, and thank you for that honest answer. Did you, did you consciously navigate it? As in, oh, I'm uncomfortable, but I know I need to navigate this in order to grow? Or was it like, WTF, now what? Okay, fine, I'll just figure this shit out.
It was probably a combo. So I grew up in the coaching space. My dad's a coach, a teacher, and trainer. So I went to my first seminar when I was like personal growth seminar when I was like 6. And like went off and on throughout my younger years. And around 24 is when I really committed to my personal growth journey. Because I realized like I got some work to do here on myself. And so I think there were definitely moments where I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just figuring it out. And then as I, matured and got older, I started to get more aware of like, no, this is that uncomfortable feeling that I'm scared to do this. That's why I'm like hesitant. But like, let's really look at, am I scared to do it because it's like not actually for me, or am I just scared to do it, but it actually is for me? And if I, face it, walk through it, there's something beautiful on the other side. And so the more I started having those conversations, the more I realized like, oh yeah, like if I'm willing to face, if I'm willing to walk in, there really is growth on the other side. I also realized over time that like when I stopped running from fear, it stopped chasing me. And that's when things really started to shift in my life.
Okay, my mind is going off in a gazillion directions because I'm loving everything that you're saying. Let's go back though. When you said at 24, you decided you realized you needed to really buckle down, I kind of had a little jolt on the inside because I'm like, what? 24? I could barely tie my shoelaces at 24. Of course, I'm being facetious, but it's
Mhm.
so young. I have a daughter that's 26, and I'm like, if that came out of her mouth right now, I would be thrilled. So I just want to say, wow, 24, that's amazing. But what were the other 24s around you doing? Were all of your friends into this? Or were you kind of, yeah, she's shaking her head, folks. You need to, if you're
No,
watching the video, you can see that she's laughing and shaking her head. Tell
yeah,
me what that was like being.
it was challenging. I think for most of my life, I felt like I didn't really fit in or that I was a little bit different or odd. So that's been, a part of my growth and journey too, to understand that it's okay to be different and whatever we might be looking for outwardly from other people, validation, acceptance, like comparing that I'm the same as that person, like isn't really necessary, that we have access to that inside. So again, I was blessed to have a father who, introduced me to this work early on, but I also had a lot of trauma in my childhood. So I had a lot of resistance to it, a lot of pain. What happened to me at 24 is I started realizing I was really sabotaging a lot of my relationships. I was very angry from things that had happened in my childhood, and I was like holding on to it and I was projecting it. And I just started to kind of see the pain that I was causing. And I just was like, I need to make some new choices here. And so that's when I really was like, we have to start looking. So I went into coaching every week. I went to every one of my dad's seminars. I started looking for my own mentors. And then, just for reference, I'm now 43. So this has been, a 20 year journey of just continually looking inward and, creating experiences that, again, were not always comfortable, but I always came out stronger on the other end.
So what advice, first of all, hats off to you. That's amazing. And it's interesting because I've created a program for myself called Rage Against Your Comfort Zone. I am thick in the middle of having to rage against my comfort zone for a couple things with work. But I'd love to know what you recall the learnings that you had about yourself along the way, because you've been in this for a while, but take us back to some of the first learnings that came up for you.
Yeah. So one of the first ones that come up, because this used to cripple me in my early 20s, is that, nothing is personal. I used to do hair. I did hair for 17 years. And so I was in my early 20s. I started when I was 19, built my own practice and all of that. I would be like so upset if someone didn't jump up from the chair and like hug me and tell me that I did the best job. I mean, I would lose sleep. I was so upset. Or if I heard someone talking about me in the salon, I would literally lose sleep. I would be anxious all the time. And I started realizing like, maybe this isn't about me. Maybe it's not personal if someone is saying something about me. Maybe if someone's saying something about me, it's more about them than it is about me. And this is a very foundational teaching. Obviously, if you've read like the Four Agreements, like he talks about never take things personally. And it's such a simple concept, but yet more complex for the human mind, the ego to understand and to integrate, right? So that was probably one of my first like life-changing realizations of like, you got to stop making this about you and thinking that everyone's even thinking about you. They're not. Because that was really crippling me, and it was holding me back from being able to step into my next level. So once I started chipping away at that, it was easier to start to like step into more levels and things in my business, relationship, things like that.
So good. And, just to tack on to that, even if it were about you, who cares? Right?
Exactly. Well, because it's really not personal. Like if someone's judging you, sure, maybe they don't like you, but it's not really about you. If I'm judging you, it's because I'm really judging a part of me. But if I'm taking what you're saying about me personally, it's really because I'm judging a part of me. So when you really get that piece, it's probably one of the most freeing things that can ever happen. Because people are going to do what they're going to do. You can't control them, whether they're going to like you or not. It's really none of our business whether someone likes you or not.
And that's the other thing I was going to say is I don't know who first said it. Maybe, who knows? Doesn't matter. But what people think about you isn't your business.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, try telling that to your teenage self. You're like, are you insane? Everything I do is about me, right?
Yes.
Why do you think I dress like this? It's because I need to look.
Absolutely.
So good. Okay, so thank you for that. What are some of the other big ahas that you've learned along the way that you're sharing with your clients?
Yeah, so, gosh, there's a lot along the way, but some deeper principles are that, everything is happening for you, not to you. This was a really big one. I've been married and divorced twice. My second marriage lasted for 4 months. This is a bigger story, but it was definitely one of the hardest moments of my life. And I knew at that time that I had a crossroads. I had a lot of content to be a victim and to really like, can you believe this happened to me? And I realized though that, that's not what it was about. It was about the opposite. It was about learning how to become a victor and recognize like, okay, but why did I say yes to this? Why did I walk into it? Why did I walk down the aisle? Why did I stay? And the more I took him, and even though there was some stuff that wasn't cool, but either way, I can't control that, and moved him to the side and just looked at myself. And I started really looking at those pieces. I was like, okay, this actually happened for me because look what it's helping me see about myself that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to see. So I always tell people a trigger, an activation when you get upset about something is a gift, even though we don't like the way that it feels, but it is truly a gift because it's showing you something about yourself that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to see. And we can only heal what we can see. The awareness is the power because as long as we're aware, we can actually make a different choice. If we're not aware, we're just not set up for success to make any choices or make any changes. So that was an additional huge transformational teaching that as I started incorporating into my life, it changed everything for me. So it's a big part of what I teach my clients as well now.
I love that. And I agree with it. I understand it. It makes sense. It's not always easy. And one of the things that I'm noticing is the importance of being okay with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, if you change the lens that you're looking at it and you look at it from this is wow, what a great opportunity for me to wow, why did I just yell at my husband like that? Wow, that's where did that come from? It really does allow for some growth, but it
Yeah,
may not come easy, but recognizing that we always have an opportunity, we always have choice. It does sort of lighten the heaviness around it.
absolutely.
What are you noticing though that's still coming up for you? If you can share with us, because I don't know, but let me just preface this by saying, as I mentioned earlier, I'm still working on raging against my own comfort zone. And it was a shock to me because I thought, oh, I know my shit. I get it. This is what I do for a living. And I explore, read, talk, but then I felt it. So I'm curious, as a coach that's been in this business even way, much longer than I have, what's coming up for you still?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So at some point along my journey, I realized that, you know, because I would keep having the same kind of story come up. I had a lot of abandonment in my childhood. I played that out in my relationships. And then I had different things go on with like, I had a salon, I had over 20 employees playing out dynamics there. And I started to realize that, hold on, I was like going a different direction and then it shifted. Um, can you re-ask me that part of the question? Because I like literally had it and then it just like something shifted and like went back. Oh, the big lesson, right? Or what I'm still working on.
Yeah, the one that keeps coming up.
Trauma. That's what I was going to go to. Yeah, it's trauma. So I realized I was getting frustrated with myself because the same types of stories and traumas were coming up or reactions. And I started to recognize that I have trauma and it's okay that I have trauma. I have stuff. I have fears. And the more that I accepted that, and this goes into what you were saying too about being uncomfortable. So we don't really want to talk about our trauma or about our stuff because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. We've judged uncomfortable. The reality is being uncomfortable is a part of the human experience. We can't really get away from it. Our freedom is learning how to accept it and get comfortable with it, knowing it's going to pass. So when I started recognizing that, like, okay, this is just my trauma, but what do I need in these moments? So what I did is I actually created a system and a process that's happened after my second divorce where I help people learn how to understand the trauma, understand the ego story that is kind of keeping you looping in that limiting belief, pull out of that something happened to you, that you're going to fail, that you're always rejected, that something's wrong with you, and actually get to the emotion that's underneath the surface, the part of you that feels scared, not good enough, alone, rejected, failure, all of that. And then what I realized is once I started feeling those things, like actually feeling them and showing up for them and not making it about the outward result, I naturally started falling more into my power, into my heart, into my intuition. And that's where I was experiencing more freedom. And so I say all that just to preface that, like, this has kind of been a part of the journey. And so now what happens is for me is something shifted over the last few years where I just had more grace and compassion for, like, yeah, I have stuff. So what? Let's look at it and move on and go back to having fun. So what I do now is daily, I have a practice and a process that I do where I check in with myself. How do I feel? What stories do I have? What am I feeling afraid of right now? What's uncomfortable? And then I work through it. And then I go back to like being in my power. And I would say that's how I've created a life where I feel the most freedom and peace that I ever have inwardly. So to answer the direct question of what am I working on now? So because of childhood stuff and because of relationship stuff, what I'm really working on right now is what parts of me still want to protect when it comes to relationship. Because I've been single for a little while, I've had some experiences, I have some opportunities coming in. I feel closer to being, stepping into a more serious relationship again. And what I get to look at is, even though I've done, to your point, I've done a ton of work on this, tons, years of work. But I still get that moment where I'm like, oh, nope, that's not perfect. Nope, that reminds me of my ex. Nope, I don't think I'm not comfortable in this. Nope, what if he does the thing that the last guy did? So what I do is I try to be, so my practice is how can I be as present as possible in as many moments as possible? Because the more you're present, the more you can even be aware of these things. So I start to just look at like, okay, I feel something in my body. So I know myself really well at this point. I know my body. I know I get anxiety in my solar plexus, or I tighten up in my shoulders, or I notice I'm not breathing. So these are the things that are really important to understand about yourself. Because the more you understand yourself, the more you can catch quicker. Oh, I'm just triggered by something. So again, in this case for me, I'm talking about dating, but it can really be used on like, is this a client for you? Is this a partner for you? Do you stay with this partner? Do you do this business opportunity? Do you invest in this thing? What's the yes, the answer or the direction for you? And there's not typically always like a big right or wrong. It's just what is your highest path? I think where people get snagged sometimes, and I've been guilty of this as well, is getting confused between your intuition and your triggers and your fear. So, and which one's making the choice for you? And sometimes it can be a combo. Something can come in, your intuition's like, hey, pay attention, but there's also fear, trigger, old stuff coming up. And so what I always try to do either way is look at, okay, where's the story that I even need to protect myself right now? Or why do I have this expectation of this person to show up in this particular way in order for me to feel safe inside? Remember, you're already whole. Remember, you're already safe. And so I walk through that, and that's when I can get more like directly into my intuition to really feel, do I still stay on this path and open up to this person, this situation, whatever it is, or is it really complete? The last thing I'll say about that for anyone who's listening and like kind of wondering about like how do I know when I'm complete with something or when I should or shouldn't do it? It's like you'll know it in your body. Typically, if something happens and you're like, no, absolutely not, like this doesn't work for me or whatever, again, no matter what, if there's a reaction, there's something for you to look at with inside of you. And I highly encourage you to do that because that is your opportunity for growth. Once
Absolutely.
you calm down, then you can actually make the choice from your power. And the more choices you make from your power, the more powerful results you get.
Yeah. Okay. So much good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. A couple things I want to jump in and say is just sort of a recognition that our outside world is a reflection of our inside world. So if you're
Absolutely.
happy with what you see, if you're not happy with your bank account, if you're not happy with your relationships, take a look on the inside. That's why, there's that phrase inner work. And some
Mhm.
people may turn their nose up and go, oh, get a life, people, go get a job, like get a real job, whatever. But that's fine because it's not about you, right? You can, from both of us to the everybody listening, check in with yourself because
Yeah.
it starts with us, right? It starts with our thoughts because our inner world comes first.
Mhm.
First, there's a thought, a feeling, an
Absolutely.
emotion, or a story. You've mentioned it quite a few times. I don't know if people are really aware, but oh my God, we are the most amazing storytellers. And I'm
Mhm.
not just talking about authors and playwrights and creative souls. I'm talking about every human being. We just have this ability to just create crap and call it a story. And often we call it our story. And there's such a deep belief because we've held it for so long. But to your point, getting curious will help you to become more aware.
Yes.
This as a coach, because I'm a coach too, what I want for clients is for them to be just so aware all of the time. So they're not on autopilot because autopilot's gotten them here and they realize they're not happy with where they're at for
Yeah.
whatever reason, whatever type of coaching you do. But curiosity, man, just get curious. Just ask, ask, ask. Why did I say that? Why do I feel that? What am I feeling? What am I feeling underneath that? You mentioned it earlier that it's almost like well, I think you mentioned it, this idea of peeling an onion, like there's layers, right? First, you get this, you're like, oh, that's interesting. But what's underneath it? Oh, that's interesting. Well, what the fuck? What's under that? Oh, well, that's, wow, I got to sit with that.
Mhm.
And it's okay to sit with it. In
Yeah.
fact, we encourage it.
Absolutely. And all of those things that you said, interestingly enough, from a simplicity standpoint, bring you present. And the reality is, everything you're looking for in your life, happiness, joy, love, freedom, peace, it literally can only exist in the present moment.
I know. Talk about a mind fuck, eh? You
Mhm.
can get caught up in the words and yes. And it's interesting because when I started my business 4 years ago, my business is called Mindfulness with Mahara. Told the story the other day, and I didn't create the business because I wanted to be a mindfulness coach. I just like the alliteration. I
Mhm.
happen to study mindfulness. I happen to meditate for most of my life, but I just thought it sounded good. And
Yeah.
I never talked about my practice of meditation or my beliefs, my woo-woo beliefs. It just wasn't, nah. I'm here to be badass, right? I kind of
Mhm.
jumped into a persona. And now everything's coming full circle. And I'm like, wow, the name Mindfulness with Mahara was an absolute download from the universe. And I ignored that. I just find it's a cool name. Thanks. But now I'm recognizing, okay, I spent 4 years running away from what I do best, which is connect with being present.
Yeah.
Really understand this idea of being present because I've lived in the past and I have lived in the future and I haven't been happy in either of those places.
Same girl.
When I just sit right there going, okay, you know what? Tummy's a little full from a very quick egg sandwich, a little anxious because the dogs were barking in my last podcast. It's all good. This is me. I'm totally present. And that is actually the gift that we bring to the world is our ability to be present, because that's when we are, to your point, harnessing our power. And make no joke, people, every single one of us is here for a reason and we have power. The art of badassery is to help you understand that and navigate it and explore it. And that's why I have these amazing guests on every day. But I digress. Let's go back to you. Okay. You're no longer in the beauty business, I take it. The salon's done.
Yeah, I sold my salon. Yeah.
Okay, good job. You are a full-time coach.
I am.
What do you love about it?
Oh, I mean, I love being able to help people heal the things that hold them back and step into their power so they can truly shine and create a life that they actually love while feeling more peace within inside themselves.
So good. Can you describe, I know what it feels like, but I would love to hear you describe that moment when the light goes off in your client's heart or eyes or body, however, and you realize, oh my God, they either just shifted or they just accessed something greater than themselves. They just got it. Can you describe that for us?
I wish there were more words in the human language or the English language for this, because I don't know the word. Like bliss is coming, like the most fulfilling, rewarding, like joy of like just seeing someone open up and be able to have a moment of what I call remembering who they truly are. Meaning, when we really, I say that not everyone fully resonates with the way I'm saying this, but like the reason why I like to say it this way is because what I believe is that when you really remember who you are, you remember that like you're already safe, you're already secure, you're already loved, you're already enough, you're already worthy, you're already whole within. And so take a second for everyone listening and think about all the energy that gets put into trying to get somewhere in your life. If I could just get to this place, if I could just accomplish that, if I could get this person's validation, if I could make more money, get a smaller waistline, get more likes on Instagram, get that bigger ring, get that bigger house, whatever it is. If everyone could just tell me that I'm enough, then I would finally feel safe. I would finally feel enough. I'd finally feel whole. And what's interesting about that is that's the uphill battle, the hamster wheel going around and around to where I call Nowheresville. And if you're feeling at that place in your life where you're hitting the same wall and you're just frustrated, it's because you're still looking outwardly. When you remember, take the time to slow down and really remember who you are and that you have access to every single thing you need within inside yourself. Now you are free, truly free. You're no longer a puppet on anyone else's or anything else's string. You are fully empowered. There's really not any huge problems. Doesn't mean challenges don't happen or disasters don't happen or any of those things. Like life, this is planet Earth. Things are happening. There's a lot going on in the world right now. Challenge is happening. Uncomfort is happening. Heartbreak is happening. These are all inevitable things. It's not about making that go away. It's about you learning how to respond versus react and navigate what's coming up for you. And when you do that and you remember, like, I'm good either way, whether this person leaves me or doesn't leave me, whether, this works out or that doesn't work out, whether I make $1 million or lose all my money, it doesn't really matter. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have goals or you can't enjoy, earthly things, of course. But what you want to ask yourself is where's your come from? Because if you're creating or trying to get something because you need it to survive, you need it to breathe, you need it to fulfill you, it's going to be a bumpy road. And it's very like gripped. You can see anyone who's watching the video, I'm like gripping this. When you soften and just open up a little bit, what happens is now you become more relaxed. You're now in your body. You're remembering like, I'm actually whole either way, so I can be surrendered. So much of that energy you're putting out into the outward comes back. Remember, you only have so much energy. So what do you want to be focused your energy on? When you come back into your power and you're focused more on I'm whole, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm surrendered, I'm neutral, now you're in flow. This is where the real power is. You really want to create and manifest. People talk about, I want this and I want that and I want to create. It's like, okay, well, how much energy do you even have left for that? What do you focus your energy on? And how available are you? How open and receptive are you? When you get into this place that I'm speaking about, this is where not only you can manifest really anything you want, truly anything is possible from this place, but you also are more available to receive it, actually receive it, and then next, actually sustain it. Because when you're in this place, you actually feel worthy of it.
Okay.
And that's the life-changing piece. Now, this is a lifestyle. This isn't gonna, you go do a program for 6 months and you're healed and you never have to talk about this again. Like this work is a lifestyle. This is about learning how to integrate it as in how you would get up and brush your teeth or put on your clothes or have lunch or stop at a stop sign. You make this deeper work that part of your life, and I promise you, it'll transform everything. It'll transform the way you see everything, how you feel. And that's when life becomes beautiful. And, we'll just call it happy because I feel like we're all looking for this happy life. Again, it's not because life is perfect. It's because of what you got going on inside. Like you said, it's all a reflection.
Oh my God, so, so good. And the heart of being a badass is having the guts to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To really just let go. And I had an experience last summer, maybe the summer before. Can't remember now, time is flying by, where I won't go into the whole story, but something happened and I instantly realized that I knew something because I had had a different life.
Mm.
On a different plane of existence. It's really woo woo, but it was so clear to me that I knew this thing because I had been there.
Mm.
And with that realization, my whole world changed because I was sitting in a car and all as a passenger, and I went, "Oh my God, if I've lived a different life, if my soul has been in a different body, in a different space, different time, then this really doesn't matter. Like this doesn't matter because I'm bigger than that."
Mm-hmm.
And it did change my perspective on everything. I'm still, of course, I still have worries, bills, challenges. I mean, I talk about it all the time on my, in my business, but that little understanding, that glimpse, and that 100% understanding, not even a belief, I just understand that there is more than what I'm seeing, made
Yeah,
me feel very comfortable.
absolutely.
It was like, you know what? If I really buy into all of that other stuff, then this isn't a surprise. I chose to come here.
Mhm.
I chose to learn this lesson. Oh my God, I chose to go through this. Okay, well, I obviously, I'm here for a reason and it's okay. I'm at the right place to figure it out. So I just wanted to share that because it really
Yeah,
ties
it's beautiful.
to what
And
you're
now you're more empowered, right? So like kind of going back to like what I talked about a little while ago, it's like you're either a victim or you're a victor. And one of them is giving your power away and one of them is being in your power. And the thing is, you're a choice in every moment. The good news is that it's your power. So if you realize you've given it away, you can literally take it back in any second. But you have to make the choice. Like you said, we call it the work because, it is work and it's not for the weak,
yeah.
but it's worthy work. It is truly the most worthy thing that any human can do on this planet, in my opinion. Because again, if you do this work, you clean up inwardly, you guys, it's all a reflection. So if you want the hack, if you want like the simple hack to having the life of your dreams, focus on cleaning up your inner world. And every single other area of your life will become a reflection of that.
I want to tie that into purpose because you mentioned it earlier and it comes up a lot in my work. People get stuck, really stuck on this. What's my purpose?
Mhm.
And I think personal experience, before you can articulate that with any certainty, to your point, we need to get clear on who we are. Like, if you don't know who you are, then how could you possibly know what your purpose is?
Mhm.
And, I actually said this to a client the other day that's struggling with that. I said, okay, you know what? Let's just back away from this idea that purpose has to be this big, huge, magnificent, amazing, shout from the rooftops kind of thing. What if your purpose was simply to live an honest life? And
Yeah.
the client was like, what? Just that? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's big.
Mhm.
That's your purpose, to just every day go, okay, how can I be my most honest self today? And, you know, it was a great session. Minds were blown and great conversation followed. But just in tying it into what you're talking about here is we can get caught up in this need to feel connected to this bigger thing, which is great. But if it's painful and if it doesn't feel right, then maybe you can think of it as just being a more little thing. Like, you know, maybe my purpose is to just smile and to teach my children how to be good people. You know, maybe my purpose is to teach crochet. I'm looking at the crochet behind you. Maybe my purpose is to teach women to be badass, but maybe it's just to be my very best in any moment.
Yeah. So part of what's going on is we're looking outwardly for validation. And that's kind of a lot of times where that stems when it's like, I'm just looking at, well, I don't have a purpose. Something's wrong. I don't have a purpose. Something, I need it to be big. I need it to whatever. And listen, it can be big. It can, I guess, let's go back even further. What's big? What does big even mean? There's really no meanings to any of this, right? So there's a couple of things I'll say. First of all, going back to your point on like knowing yourself. If you don't know yourself, not only you're not going to know your purpose, you're not going to know what is a true yes or a true no for you. You're not going to really know what you want. You're not going to really know what a boundary is, what works for you, doesn't work for you. So that's why I say getting to know yourself and doing this inner work, there's literally nothing more important than it. Same thing when being able to catch, like, am I getting into my mind and letting my ego kind of convince me that, like, if I don't get this husband, this ring, this partner, pregnant, this purpose, help a million people, whatever it is, then something's wrong with me. Something's missing. As long as you've got that mentality, you are going to be chasing and something will always be missing because you're buying into the story that something's missing, whether you have a purpose or not. The reality is nothing is missing. The jig is up. You're already here. Everything you're looking for is already inside. So I actually help a lot of people with purpose. They come to me as similar and they're like, I don't have a purpose. Please help me find it. I'm like, no problem. I have 1,000,000,000% certainty that your purpose exists within inside your heart. So let's just do some work to get you in your heart.
I love it.
Get into their heart. Then they're like, oh, it's this. And here's the thing, your purpose can shift and change. And it can be as simple as like, my purpose is to learn how to be present. My purpose is to learn how to be heart-centered and share love with the world. Can you imagine if that was more people's purpose, what would that would do to our planet? We were more worried about making $1,000,000 or having 1,000,000 likes or whatever it is to make it purposeful. But like, what if it was just to share love? What could that do for our planet and for your heart?
And for all of those agreements, just to go back to the 4 agreements, I happen to believe that we make many, many more agreements in the other plane, and we sort of execute them on this plane. But thank you for that very eloquent reminder that life is actually very simple, right? It really is very simple. Yes, there are the needs: shelter, food, safety, community. I put that as a need because I do think we need connection. And as a side note, do you remember when COVID hit and everything went onto Zoom? The fear, the anger, the, oh my God, what is this? The technology was like, huh? And now 5 years later, I'm like, I'm sorry. Thank God for Zoom. I've got friends and connections and clients all over the world. So just a little side note on how we can be afraid of something that actually helps us in one of our basic needs. And
going back to what I kind of said at the beginning, everything is happening for us. I literally just posted this on my story. It's kind of interesting. I haven't said it in a while, but I was like, gentle reminder, even though it might not feel like it, everything is happening for you in your favor. It's just, are you willing to look at it that way? Or again, victor or victim? Which one is it?
One of the words, to your point, one of the words that's coming up a lot for me and for my clients is the word trust. And I think so many things play into this ability into our ability to live in the moment and to choose to recognize we have choice. And I think trust is one of them. Trust in ourselves, trust in our faith, trust in the universe, trust in our neighbor. You know, you're going to really resonate with this, but you guys have had a really tumultuous year of elections. And right, it's polarizing your country, it's polarizing the world. And I think this idea that, okay, can I just sit with trust that it's going to work out, trust that this is going to be, trust that it is, all of the things that we want.
Absolutely.
It can be a challenging one to swallow, but
And I think too, part of that is like letting go of the meanings. Like, what does it mean to have a crazy election? Or what does it mean to have something not go your way? Or what does it mean for, it's like, what if it didn't mean anything? What if it was all just, again, happening for us and trusting that it's all working out the way it's supposed to? And again, the world is worlding at this point. So, if you haven't looked around and noticed, it's worlding, right? And that's not going to stop. You cannot control the world. You cannot control your people. What you can control is how you choose to respond or react. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about sharing with the world is that learning how to trust yourself is probably the greatest skill that you could ever have, especially in the world we are living in right now. Because there's going to come a time when it's like, do I leave my house? Do I not leave my house? Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I stay? Do I get out of Dodge? Like, what do I do? Well, learning how to trust your intuition is going to be your greatest asset.
Yeah. So how do you do that? Let's talk about that, because it's one of those things that for those of us that are in it, we're like, yeah, I get it. I can try, I get it. But people that are new that may be going, okay, first of all, I don't even like the word intuition because it's a little bit too wacky, but what does exactly mean? What exactly does it mean to trust yourself? Can you give us some tips on how to cultivate that?
Absolutely. So the first thing is you need to learn how to get into your body. And if that doesn't make sense to you, it's like, just understand this. You're creating in every moment, and you're either creating from fear or truth, lack or love, ego or heart, right? And if you're in your ego and coming from fear and limitation, you're most likely living from your neck up out of your body, which means you're not really conscious, you're not really present, you're not really aware. This is the part of you that like drives home and you're like, whoa, how did I even get home right now? Or you get in a fight with someone, you're like, what did I even just say to them? Like, because you weren't present, you weren't in your body, you don't even remember. This is a human thing. It's nothing to judge yourself for, but it's something to be aware of, because when you're making choices unconsciously, you're going to have unconscious results. So when you choose to get more into your body, more connected to your heart and connected to that part of you that's conscious, aware, your eyes are open, you get more conscious results. That's just universal law. I didn't make this up. This is just how it is, right? So if you want to be more connected to yourself and to trust yourself, you want to learn how to get into your body and feel safe in your body, to regulate your nervous system. So a few things you can do daily: breathe. Take 4 deep breaths in through your nose, hold it, out through your nose, right? Meditate, journal, set an intention for your day, get a coach, get into a program, have a support system, have something consistent that you do every day. So I'm very big on having a consistent self-care ritual. Every morning I get up, I journal, I meditate, I set an intention, I breathe. And this is what I teach people. And there's a lot of resistance to it. Usually it's like, I don't have time for this. It's like, how do you not have time for this? Again, you're creating every moment. If you get up and you're hitting the go and you're going and going, at what point are you even conscious of what your choices are? So what I'm suggesting is to slow it down as a way to speed it up. If you slow down, you get into your body, you get intentional about what you're creating in each moment throughout your day, I promise you, your results are going to up level in a way you didn't even know were possible versus not doing it. And then again, this is just where you kind of keep hitting the same wall. So it's really, again, we all have free will. It's all choice. You can either, kind of keep doing it, the hustle, gotta go, gotta hurry, I don't have time for it way, and that's fine. There's no judgment. If you're looking for something different and you're wanting, more freedom in your life and you're wanting to learn how to trust yourself, you got to learn how to get in your body. And so if you want to be in your body, you have to practice things that bring you present, that bring you to your body. Because once you're connected to your heart, to that part of you that's your truest self, that's when, again, you will remember, oh, yeah, I'm already safe. Oh, yeah, I'm already loved. Oh, yeah, I'm already enough. Oh, I can actually feel like, ooh, this is a no. I think I'm going to pass, but it's a calm no. Or, oh, this is a yes. And gosh, I still feel really uncomfortable and scared, but it's still a yes. So I'm going to trust it and I'm going to go. Right. And that's the simplicity of it. Because like you said earlier, all of this from the divine's perspective, all of this is very simple. What complicates it is our mind and our fears. So you have to decide who gets to run the show. Your mind and your fear and your lack and the chaos and the limitations, or your power and your heart, your truth, your intuition, whatever that is for you. And it's a moment to moment choice. So my intention for myself and for my clients is, how can we live in our heart, create with intention, be present in as many moments as possible.
So good. Intention, man, a life of intention is a life well lived. I can't remember who actually said that. I used that quote in one of my programs. But truthfully, yes, often I think that we shy away from being intentional, to your point, because we don't think we deserve it. So there's a lot, there can be a lot to unpack. But I really appreciate some of these jewels that you've shared with us today, Randi. And I don't know about you guys listening, but I just kind of want to jump up and go, yes, 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 and yes, for sure, for sure. So important if you want to, live a life of badassery, which is, of course, what I'm all about. But really, I think the biggest thing that you've shared with us today, and I just want to reiterate it, is that we need to want to know ourselves better. The good, the bad, the, oh my God, that was horrific. And I'm not making light of trauma or drama or pain. That is the human experience. But if we are at a point in our lives where we're ready to say, you know what, I want more, then get to know yourself, whether you use a coach or not, or a therapist or not. Just have the